In 2023, Red Bull sold enough drinks to fuel every person on Earth 1.5 times. That's over 12 billion cans a year. But why do they own football teams? The story begins in 2005 in Austria with the purchase of Austria Salzburg. Red Bull wasn't content with sponsoring a team like everyone else. They wanted full control. They rebranded it as FC Red Bull Salzburg, changed its colors, and overhauled its management. Over the next 2 decades, they acquired 5 football clubs: Salzburg and Liefering in Austria, RB Leipzig in Germany, New York, and Red Bull Bragantino in Brazil. Let's start with how they bought SV Austria Salzburg. It all began in Salzburg, where Dietrich Mateschitz, founder of Red Bull, met with his friend Franz Beckenbauer, a German football icon who had achieved World Cup victories as both player and coach. At the time, Beckenbauer was also president of Bayern Munich. Amidst Salzburg's stunning scenery, Beckenbauer gave Mateschitz a game-changing piece of advice. If he wanted Red Bull to make waves in sports marketing, investing in football was the key. Taking this to heart, Mateschitz didn't hesitate. In 2005, Red Bull purchased Austria Salzburg, a small club struggling in Austria's top division, for a reported 10 million euros. Red Bull Salzburg thrived under Mateschitz's leadership, dominating the Austrian league and serving as a launching pad for young talents like Sadio Mane and Erling Haaland. In 2006, Dietrich Mateschitz expanded Red Bull's football empire across the Atlantic by acquiring the Metro Stars. The deal, worth around 25 million euros, included half ownership of the club's new stadium in Harrison, New Jersey, along with the naming rights. Upon acquisition, the club was rebranded as the New York Red Bulls. While the move brought much-needed investment and infrastructure improvements to the club, it was also criticized by purists who saw the rebranding as overly commercial. Nonetheless, the Red Bulls quickly made their mark in MLS, attracting big names like Thierry Henry, one of the most celebrated footballers of his generation, who joined the team in 2010. His presence elevated the team's profile and demonstrated Red Bull's commitment to building a competitive squad. Over to the most hated club in Germany and the crown jewel of Red Bull's football empire. After conquering Austrian football with Red Bull Salzburg and the MLS with New York Red Bulls, Dietrich Mateschitz wasn't ready to stop. Franz Beckenbauer, always the football visionary, urged Mateschitz to take the Red Bull formula to Germany. And thus, in 2009, Red Bull acquired SSV Markranstädt, a humble 5th division club near Leipzig, with one bold mission: transform it into a Bundesliga powerhouse within 8 years. Enter RB Leipzig, a club born from big dreams and bigger controversies. Of course, Red Bull wanted to name it Red Bull Leipzig, but German football's strict rules said DFB forbid using commercial names in club titles. Red Bull named it Rasenballsport Leipzig, literally Lawn Ball Sports Leipzig. Not subtle, but hey, it worked. From its red and white colors to the newly minted Red Bull Arena, everything about Leipzig screamed Red Bull. But here's where the drama starts. For football purists in Leipzig, this wasn't the fairy tale they wanted. Many locals saw Red Bull as football's corporate overlords stomping on tradition. Still, RB Leipzig rose faster than anyone could have imagined. By 2016, just 7 years after the takeover, they were playing in the Bundesliga, 1 year ahead of their ambitious 8-year plan. Soon, they weren't just Bundesliga regulars, but Champions League regulars. Their ultra-restrictive membership model, which keeps control in Red Bull's hands, flies in the face of Germany's beloved 50+1 rule, where fans usually have the majority say in club decisions. Union Berlin once refused to feature Leipzig in its matchday program and was met with 15-minute silence protesting against the Red Bull owners. Yet, for all the hate, RB Leipzig thrives. They've won the DFB Pokal twice and are now seen as one of Bayern Munich's biggest rivals in the Bundesliga. But is all this profitable? Their strategy is simple yet genius. Buy young talent for cheap, develop them into stars, and sell them for eye-popping profits. Let's look at some examples of their transfer magic. Take Erling Haaland, for instance. Red Bull Salzburg signed him for just 8 million euros. After 17 goals in 16 games, he moved to Borussia Dortmund for 20 million euros. And though they didn't cash in on his later mega deals, it still showcased their knack for spotting future superstars. Then there's Dominik Szoboszlai. Salzburg picked him up for a mere 500,000 euros, sent him to RB Leipzig for 22 million euros, and Leipzig flipped him to Liverpool for a jaw-dropping 70 million euros. How about Dio Upamecano? Signed for 10 million euros, sold to Bayern Munich for 42.5 million euros. And let's not forget Josko Gvardiol. Leipzig brought him in for 18.8 million euros and sent him to Manchester City for a record-breaking 90 million euros. These transfers alone brought in hundreds of millions. But Red Bull's brilliance doesn't stop at player sales. They They keep their costs impressively low, making their profits even sweeter. Compare RB Leipzig's annual wage bill of 85 million euros to European giants like Bayern Munich at 325 million euros, or Manchester City's 350 million euros. That's a huge gap, yet Leipzig regularly holds its own against these powerhouses, competing in the Champions League year after year. In fact, Leipzig made 450 million euros in revenue during the 2022-23 season, a record for the club. A big chunk of that revenue comes from the Champions League. Qualifying for Europe's elite competition isn't just about glory, it's a cash machine. Between prize money, TV rights, and ticket sales, Leipzig pulls in 60 to 100 million euros each time they make the group stage. Ad sponsorships and merchandise sales with the Red Bull logo plastered everywhere, and the profits soar even higher. What makes this model even more profitable is their multi-club network. Players start their journey in places like Brazil's Red Bull Bragantino, move to Salzburg for development, and eventually land in Leipzig as polished stars. It's a streamlined talent pipeline that saves Red Bull millions in scouting and recruitment costs. In 2018, RB Leipzig made 108 million euros in revenue. By 2020, that number had grown to 250 million euros, and by 2023, it had skyrocketed to 450 million euros. And that's just one of Red Bull's football clubs. They bought the New York Red Bulls for 25 million euros back in 2006, and now it's valued at an incredible 500 million euros. This really shows how successful Red Bull has been with their journey into football. Red Bull's system is efficient, profitable, and incredibly smart. They don't overspend on wages, they sell players at the perfect time, and they constantly reinvest in fresh talent. Critics may call it soulless or corporate, but you can't argue with the results. Red Bull has turned football into a business empire, using their clubs not just as teams, but as investments. At its core, Red Bull's football empire is a case study in how to turn a sport into a sustainable, profitable enterprise. By blending global branding, strategic investments, and a ruthless focus on development, they've created a system that churns out talent, wins trophies, and makes money, all while keeping costs low. Love them or hate them, Red Bull has redefined what it means to succeed in modern football. This innovative approach has attracted some of football's biggest names, with former Liverpool and Borussia Dortmund manager Jurgen Klopp now taking on a role as head of football operations. And many German football fans are unhappy about it. While a lifelong Dortmund fan from near Leipzig believes Klopp has ruined his legendary status in the Ruhr Valley by joining forces with Red Bull, he even says that not even winning a World Cup with Germany could repair Klopp's reputation among Dortmund supporters. Klopp, who once called himself the normal one, is now part of a project that many see as harmful to German football. When Red Bull bought clubs like Salzburg in Austria, RB Leipzig in Germany, New York Red Bulls in the USA, and Red Bull Bragantino in Brazil, they weren't just entering football, they were entering communities. Each club lets Red Bull connect with local fans through something they love: football. Whether it's the samba passion in Brazil, the tactical precision in Germany, or the high-energy atmosphere of Major League Soccer in the USA, Red Bull adapts to each culture. By putting their logo on jerseys, banners, and stadiums, Red Bull creates an emotional bond with fans. When your favorite team wins wearing the Red Bull brand, suddenly that drink feels like part of the victory. The result? Fans who associate Red Bull with excitement, energy, and success are more likely to grab a can. And there you have it. Thanks for watching.